Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Aditya Girish Pawate, a recent graduate from IIT Kharagpur. I'm also a Kellogg Future Leader, which means that I got a deferred MBA admission from Kellogg School of Management. So in today's podcast, we have with us Shashwat, who has got a deferred MBA admit from Columbia Business School. So we're going to talk all about his journey through the MBA applications and answer some of the questions which you guys have asked. So let's get started. So hi Shashwat, yeah, you can just tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure, Aditya. So I am Shashwat Rolia, as he mentioned, and I graduated from IIT Kharagpur this year with a dual degree with my BTech in Ocean Engineering and my MTech in Artificial Intelligence. Currently, I'm working at Citibank as a business analyst in Bangalore.
So now let's get started with a few questions which all of us have in mind. So when did you even get started with the deferred MBA thought process, and how did you even get to know about it? And like before even applying, did you think that you will get admitted to Columbia, which is one of the top business schools in US?
Yeah, so starting from your last question, definitely not. So no one could expect the results based on the process that these P schools have. And so yeah, so starting from your questions, so as you asked, when did I start thinking about it? So basically, I got to know from my seniors, like some of our seniors at IIT Kharagpur have already gotten into top B schools who referred MBA. So I got to know from them basically. And like in my pre-final year, I had done a summer program at a USB school called Tech Business School. So I have to get exposure into what MBA is and doing an MBA from abroad rather than in India. So how it looks like. So to I got a first hand experience through that, and then after returning back, in the final year, I thought, why, yeah, I should be applying for a deferred MBA because I felt that maybe some years down the line, a MBA could be relevant for me. So that was the thought process around it. And you in your final year, you're not sure like what will be your career trajectory in the 3 to 5 years down the line. So deferred MBA is sort of if I looked at it as a safety net, you could say that even if whatever you are in your career at any point, so you could transition from one point to something else if you want to. So that power is there. That is that it provides you through this program. So that was the whole thought process initially while applying.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I started in my final semester only, like when the process usually starts around, I guess the deadlines are in April, May,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
For most of the B schools. So I had started around, like, I procrastinated a lot. So I had in my mind that I had to apply for this, but I was in that procrastination zone ki, we'll start.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would recommend that start your GMAT or GRE prep as early as possible. So, that takes a bit of time around it. So
So when
yeah,
did you
any
start your GRE prep? You gave GRE, right?
yeah, I gave the GRE.
Okay, okay. So when did you start your GRE prep?
Yeah, so I started my GRE prep around in the late February, and
Late
my
February.
test was,
Okay.
my test was on 30th March. So it was,
Damn.
like the high time, the 11th hour I did it. So I didn't
Damn.
have much time for the preparation and not second attempt. There was no scope for second attempt. So
Oh
yeah.
my God. So one attempt or you just killed it?
Yeah, because the deadlines for B schools used to start from, I suppose, 11th of April
11th April, I
started
remember
the
Stanford
deadlines.
was the first
Yeah,
one we
yes, correct,
submitted.
correct. So I just had 10 days like between the deadline and my GRE. So yeah, I didn't have much time for second attempts or anything like that.
Okay.
So, and like one question that I have been also asked, like from my juniors or whatever, like just
Hmm.
wanted to clarify that, like GMAT versus GRE, like people usually get confused, like what to give and not. So, like
Hmm.
my take was just that I had heard that GRE is more about vocabulary,
Hmm.
whereas GMAT is more into grammar part. If you talk about the English section,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I believe like math section you won't need much preparation
Hmm.
like if you're an Indian preparing for this. So for English part, I thought like vocabulary part could be done in a lesser time as compared to the grammatical part. You
Hmm.
need more practice on that. So I took up GRE like with that thought process.
Okay. That is really interesting. You gave your test on 30th March. That was the first attempt. And 11 days afterwards,
Yeah.
you were just submitted. So
Correct.
when did you
Correct.
start with the application process, essays, writing essays? Did you start it along with GRE or after GRE test?
Yeah. like uh like we guys get done with the placements and all in December. So after that, well we were back in campus in January, I
Hmm.
started preparing for it, seeing the essay prompts, what is the all the requirements, essay LORs and all. So I contact one thing I would recommend is contact your recommenders quite early, because they would be busy. You would be contacting your professors or your managers at your internships, and they are sort of quite busy in their daily schedule. Say
Hmm.
they may or might not get time. So, and LORs are important piece. They need to spend enough time to write a good LOR. So
Hmm.
that thing I did around January, February only.
Okay.
That late January or early February, I reached out to my recommenders for this, because I wanted to give them enough time, like 5 6 weeks for this. And for the essays, I started, reading some blogs on the internet, started contacting some of my seniors, people on LinkedIn, to get some ideas around it, like how did they approach it and what was their stance on it, and understand more about the schools as well. Because I spent my January and around February attending these info sessions that these business schools conduct. So
Yeah.
that's pretty helpful in that, because when you look from outside, all these 6 7 schools are a good brand, the top
Hmm.
M7 as it said. But when you attend these info sessions, talk to alumni and students, you get to understand what are the differences in each of these schools, and how do you prioritize and bring your stuff in the right sense. You would have done a lot of things in terms of internships,
Hmm.
projects, extracurriculars, but each of the schools are looking at some of the other things in a different way. You
Okay.
have to bring it out in a particular way,
You have
I
to
believe.
nitpick whatever the school
Correct.
requires you to.
Right,
I
makes sense.
agree.
Yep.
Yeah. So just dividing the whole process of deferred MBA, right? First, there is this test preparation. Then second, once you're done with your tests, then you do the essays, and then comes like if you get an admit, then comes the process of interviews and all that. So going step by step, how was your GRE prep, and do you recommend, like, if you can, you can disclose what score you got and what is the ideal score people should be aiming for in terms of GRE, because most of the people give GMAT, and even most of the applicants also have a good GMAT scores. So what is the GRE take you have?
Yeah, for GRE, I would recommend is start with preparing for vocabulary, because you'll have to learn a lot of words. Like it's usually said that you have to learn about 1,000 words for a good GRE score. It's not like exactly 1,000, but close to that. That's a
Hmm.
ballpark number that's given up. So I use that flashcards by Magoosh. It's an app that you can
Hmm.
use. So there are a lot, there are different difficulty levels: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. You could go through it. It helps learning that part. And one thing I realized is I spent about on vocabulary a lot of time, but it didn't help me improve my score in the mock test that I was giving. Like there are
Okay.
some mock tests available from ETS as well, and from different websites on the internet. But
Hmm.
that wasn't helping me improve my mock test. Like I had given about 3 4 mock tests, and then I realized that my score wasn't improving enough. Although I
Okay.
was progressing in my vocabulary journey, it wasn't improving. So what I realized is I took that Magoosh course. There's a Magoosh course on GRE,
Hmm.
and I was quite late in doing that because I had just 15 20 days left with my GRE exam.
Hmm.
So but my score wasn't improving enough. So I thought, why not spend some money and get some guidance on this?
Hmm.
Because and that really helped me, because learning vocabulary is one part, and understanding the sentences asked in GRE, and then making the right choice of the vocabulary, like the putting in the words, filling the blanks, and whatever the question is, you have to practice that sort of things as well. Not just learning
Hmm.
vocabulary, but making efforts to understand those sentences. Those are quite not a simple English sentences, so you'll have to read a lot of those kind of passages to get your head around it.
Okay.
So 10 15 days of intense practice for this could be helpful, that would be sufficient. So I got a score of about 330 or
Hmm.
340.
Hmm.
So that's a decent score, I would say. Anyone who's aiming for deferred MBA should aim for about 325 at least in GRE.
Hmm.
And at the end, its score is just a part of your application, right? It's not everything. So
Hmm.
330 is the average score for Harvard and Stanford, as I recall. from last year.
Mm-hmm.
So anything above is great, and 325 plus is decent. Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. So once you had, yeah, I agree. Like the 330 is a pretty good score for GRE to get started with the application. So once you had the score in hand, I know you had very less time. So like between that, did you already prepare your essays? And did you take help from someone? Did you take guidance from seniors, or did you take? So basically, I used Applicant Lab, which is very useful. I think most of the people use that.
Yeah.
But along with that, also once you have your drafts ready, you need to have a second person's opinion, right? So did you take professional help? So I had taken some professional help to review my essays and give feedback. So that is really helpful, like in terms of what their thought process is. You will give your best draft and you will think that this is like it's going to kill it, but they'll give you so many critical reviews. And so, what was your process and what did you use for your essays?
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with this. So basically, my process was a little opposite. Like I gave
Mhm.
started with my essays and LORs first, and then gave my test. Usually, people do it the reverse way.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so for essays, definitely I gave like I read blogs and all those things. Like with understanding the school is the most important thing. Do make effort on that, I would suggest, because
Hmm.
like I also myself thought that all these schools are similar only. That's not much difference. But when you get into it, start talking with like element students and attending the info sessions, you get to know these things. That
Hmm.
what's the differentiation point, and that will help you draft your essays better.
Hmm.
What's your plan going there, what will you be doing, what's your future plans, so you can like carve it out as per the school's like focus, or I would say like what the speciality of that particular school is in that aspect. So I started with my essays around January or February. I gave a
Okay.
first draft, and then I like as you mentioned, I also use Applicant Lab. That
Hmm.
helps
Yeah, they
like
will
helps you
actually summarize the
structure your
research.
essay. Yeah, correct. That helps you structure your essay, and gives you it also gives you do's and don'ts, like what's a good essay. They also gives you samples as well, I suppose,
Exactly.
sample essays for different
And
schools.
each
That's quite
school
helpful.
they research about it, and like Maria is there, no, she researched about
Yeah,
it
correct.
and she tells about it. But the right now I feel like many people whoever is applying will always use Applicant Lab.
Always
That is
Applicant
have
Lab.
become that has become mainstream. So on top of that, you need a second person's review.
Correct, correct, definitely. Like it helps you get started, but it can't help you, give your final essay draft.
Exactly.
You will have to have a lot of different things as well. Like you can, people could use ChatGPT as well. It's accessible to everyone, but it
Hmm.
depends what are you asking it, like what sort of
Hmm.
questions you are asking and what's you are getting it. Like you
Hmm.
can't use ChatGPT to draft your entire essay. It can
Hmm.
help you in your research to know about the school and all those things, but at the end you'll have to write your own essay completely.
Hmm.
So your story would be unique to you. Like there could be several common elements between applicants, like school, CGPA, department, all those things, but your core story is unique to everyone, like everyone, right?
Hmm.
So for the my essay, like personally I use Leland. Like there are several alums and school like current students over there who have already succeeded in through this process, who are
Hmm.
there, and you could contact them. So they like charge on an hourly basis. You can have a
Yeah.
one-on-one conversation. Yeah, like you can discuss your goals and your background, and then as they could help you with your essay as well, refine your essay
Hmm.
in terms of wordings, in terms of a story. So yeah, that was quite helpful for me personally.
That's nice. So once you drafted your essays, so the next part is like submitting. So even when I was submitting, I thought that essays are the main part, but you just still have to have some time to fill in the other details, minor details, and all that. So just for everyone, just keep some time to fill out all the other application details as well, right?
Right,
So,
right.
once you submitted the application, so you can just tell us like how many interview calls you got and what all did
Yeah,
you prepare for it in the interview.
yeah. Sure. Just to add to your point, as you mentioned, you should have enough time for other
Hmm.
details as well in the application. So I would like just add one thing here, that I had prepared an Excel where I had listed down all the schools I was applying to. and the checklist it had, like all these
Hmm.
questions and all the requirements it had
Exactly.
beforehand. Because you should go through the school's portals, like the application portal, and
Hmm.
scan it through, like all what all is needed, and prepare a
Hmm.
list in your like offline as well, so
Exactly.
that you are prepared while you are applying. Don't
Hmm.
just open the portal on the date of application, so that won't be possible to complete.
But in
It's a
the
lot.
end, also, in the last moment only, everyone will submit the application.
Yeah, but at least you'll have an idea that what all is expected.
Yeah,
About
yeah.
10
No,
things you'll have
that's
an
what.
idea about it.
That is definitely true. You have to have the checklist, otherwise you'll not anticipate how much time it might take. Some small essays and all
Correct.
will be there.
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, moving on to the interview part.
Right. So, like, I got interview invites from Chicago Booth and Columbia Business School. Like, I had applied to six B schools, among the top M7, and I had got invite from two. And like both of them got converted. Like, I got a like what would
Offer
you say,
letter.
admit, yeah, offer
Mhm.
letter for it. So I chose Columbia Business School for it, going forward, because weighing all the pros and cons, like on my future goals and stuff. So I thought it would be more aligned with my goals.
Nice. So for the interview prep also, did you take a Leyland and how did you prepare for the interviews?
No, I actually followed Reddit quite closely. So if you there was a good thread on deferred applications 23.
Hmm.
So there were, people were discussing about like what were their interview questions, like how did it go, what were their suggestions or recommendations, how to go about it. So I thought before the interviews I had a pretty good idea what sort of things could be expected. So I didn't do any mock interviews as such. So I had like seen people doing mock interviews for you know for the interview, but I didn't do it anything. But I was going through all sort of questions, blogs, and these Reddit
Hmm.
posts, what could be expected, and prepared my answers and stories according to that.
Got it. Got it. That's nice. That is very interesting. So right now, what we'll do is, yeah, we got an overall idea of your deferred MBA journey. I have a few questions which were just asked, and you also might be having, right? You can just pitch in a few questions. I'll just
Yeah,
look at these questions and we'll just have like a quick Q&A session right now. Okay. So first question somebody asked is CG very important for deferred MBA applicants? So I think you are also DR1 from your
yeah,
branch, right? Yeah. So you
yeah.
can comment on this.
Yeah, so I would say, if CG is important, definitely it gives you a good, a spike to your overall application. Like there are different parts of your application: essays one, LOR, GMAT score, your resume, as well as like in your resume, CG is one of the criterias. So I would say CG. On top of it, your department rank also matters. If you're institute ranker or a department ranker, that
Hmm.
gives you a high weightage. If not just the CG, like let's say if you are a 9 pointer, but your department rank is around 10 or 15. But if
Hmm.
you're an 8 pointer and you're in the top three department ranks, that will give
Hmm.
you more weightage as compared to a 9 pointer. So it's relative, because at the end, the schools are in the US and our grading system is a lot different from theirs. So they have to, and they also recommend that you don't scale your CG to a 4 pointer or a 5 pointer
Hmm.
scale.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just give them in the 10 pointer scale only.
Because they
And
will be having so many applications, they'll know like what is the range.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they do have an idea, and that's why the rank also becomes an important criteria for them. Like how well you have been doing relative to your peers in that group.
Hmm.
So yeah, if you have a good rank, that's a good point, and definitely a 9 pointer CG is definitely good.
Yeah. What I would like to comment is they usually check a few things. So in terms of academics, they don't want you to be they don't want you to suffer during MBA. So they just see that you can do academics well. So that is one part.
Correct.
And they also check this pair, the CGPA plus GMAT GRE score. This one of these two, like the combination of these two they'll check, because one of my friends got a very high GRE score and the CGPA was around 8ish. Okay. And she also got in, and I had another friend who had a very high CGPA but a low GMAT score. She also got in. So this pair they actually check, so just be aware of that.
Really
Yeah.
agree with it. Correct. Basically, they were just, as you mentioned, they just want to see that you would be able to cope up with the MBA curriculum. So
Yeah, if
GMAT
you
and
can
the
just
CGPA is
if
the
you can just convince them through your scores and your curriculum, then that's
So
fine.
even if you have a low CG, even if you earn a 6 pointer or 7 pointer, don't shy away from applying. I would say you can, make it up with a very high GRE or GMAT score. And if you had, done some stellar internships or some stellar projects, that could
Hmm.
also make it up for your low CG. So it's just not a deal breaker, I would say, for the
Hmm.
applications, but it still have a weightage. Just like in the placements and all, as we say that CGPA is a criteria, but it's not everything. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree. So the next question is it too late to start? Like for when is the ideal time for GMAT GRE process? So this he has already mentioned. He just submitted 10 days before he
So
finished
if
his
you ask
GRE.
me,
Yeah.
there is no late time. So even if you start today, like what's today, like 30th January,
Yeah.
so you have the entire February and March, it's more than sufficient,
Yeah.
I would say.
But still, everyone suggests to start very
Yeah,
early. But in the end,
definitely. Start early, you will have an edge, you will get more time and things. But yeah, it's not too late still.
yeah, because finally, right, like there are too many things going on. There'll all obviously be procrastinations, but just submit the application. That's what I would suggest.
Correct, right. But at the end, this application process itself is so interesting. You will start enjoying it. Like I personally was enjoying the process itself because,
Hmm.
drafting these essays, you spend time with your own self and get to know your own goals, like what you really want and what are you looking up to in the next 3, 4, 5 years of post MBA, whatever. So, that helps you, align your own goals after college. So, the process itself is enjoyable if you do it. So,
Yeah,
anyways, if you get in, that's a reward in itself. But you should, like I would say, it's a no risk, high reward kind of a scenario. There's no risk there. There's just a trade
yeah,
off of your time. Like you could have spent that with your friends or did something else in your college, and you can spend it here as well. So yeah,
yeah. Yeah, that is definitely true. And what I believe is like they are looking like beforehand only they're looking at some kinds of profiles. So like even if you have a very good leadership position and all, they might be looking for people who have high CG and technically oriented. They'll take only those kind of people. And some other schools might be taking only people who have some entrepreneurial experience. So like just what I would suggest is just diversify your risk by just applying to optimal number of schools. Optimal I feel is like 8-ish, 8 to 10. If you submit more than that, you'll have to decrease the quality of your application. So if you submit those and just tell your story, like if they want to take that kind of profile, they'll take, and make sure that your essays and all are reviewed. Yeah, those things you just do, and it's never late to submit. So that's from my side. And yeah, the next question is what is the usual time it takes to fill multiple such applications? It's a similar question.
yeah, like if you talk about filling that application, it depends. Like if your essays, LORs are submitted, essays is ready, and you are done with your score. So you just have to apply. Then it will take about half an hour, or maybe around that,
Mhm.
something like that. To just upload things and write the short essays, short answers, fill in the details. So that's about it. But the main part is like getting your essay ready. I felt that was the biggest time taking part in the entire
Yeah.
application, because you have to spend a lot of time on your essay, because every
Hmm.
school has different prompts, right?
Yeah.
So if I share my experience of going through the essays, so I would suggest start with the Stanford essay, because what I did. So it
Hmm.
is the prompt is what matters to you the most and why.
And why?
So that's the most interesting prompt I felt in the entire set of questions that you get
Hmm.
for B school applications. And when you answer this question, so you'll have to spend a lot of time with yourself and go through your entire story till now.
Hmm.
So this will help you bring out the most critical and most important pieces of your life into, like, what's the word limit? About 800,000 words,
800.
whatever it is. Yeah. So using that draft, it helped me draft other essays as well for other schools, because the prompts are a bit different, but you have your stories aligned. You could, when you think through the Stanford essay, you'll have a lot of things in your head, in your, like, rough or whatever, wherever you're collating stuff, and using that brainstorming sessions you have, you'll be able to write the other essays for other schools pretty fast as compared to
Yeah.
your first
I
standard.
agree. Like there are too many common elements. So if I have
Correct.
to structure it like in terms of application, like first thing you have to set up your LORs. One like yeah, first yeah we can discuss about that also. Who are your two LORs? Like usually we have two LORs in terms of
Right.
this thing. I think in Colombia we had only one. Or
Correct.
yeah,
Just in
Colombia.
Colombia, we have one. In
And
MIT
Kellogg also we have
Sloan,
one. Yeah.
okay, cool. So in like MIT Sloan, there are two, but there's one LOR is compulsorily you have to get it from a professor.
There is something like that, but yeah, usually it's recommended one professor and one corporate. But if you can't manage, two professors also are fine, or two corporates is also fine. Like that's what I've
Yeah.
heard. But I had done like one professor and one my internship guide, so that worked out fine for me.
Okay, so
What was yours?
I got my LORs from my internship managers only, two internship managers.
Oh, two internship. Yeah, yeah. Two
Yeah.
corporate or
Yeah,
research?
both corporate
Okay, okay.
internships.
Huh, huh. So that also works. So they don't have any specific preference. So yeah, as I was structuring, first there are LORs, then there are these essay questions for which you need to spend a lot of time thinking about. In these essay questions, also mostly you have to figure out majorly what are your short-term goals, long-term goals, and why do you want to join the school, and what you
Right.
bring, like what you bring to the table. So if you just answer these four questions, you can draft these, and there are some essay questions which have like school specific, right? Like they'll tell some leadership story which you have. So if you have some of these elements, you can just knit it in each and every essay. So yeah, as you told, there are a lot of common elements, and as you rightly told, start with the Stanford or Harvard essay prompt, which will make you think a lot about your uh, which about your journey till now, so that you can draft the essays better. Yeah.
Right, right.
So the next question is there any constraint to the number of B schools that I can apply my GMAT or GRE score? So for free, I think if you go to the test center, you'll have around three or so, right? Free GMAT
Yeah, for
scores.
GRE it's four.
Okay, GRE it's four.
Yeah, so and just one thing, if you're giving a GRE, I didn't know this, that you could apply like just after the test gets completed, you get a prompt on the screen to which all schools you want to send your score to.
Hmm.
I'm not sure about GMAT, but for GRE, you have to select the four schools then and there itself.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then those your score will be sent to those schools. If you miss that, that free is like the free scope of four is
But
gone.
yeah. So in
Yeah, and then
GMAT,
there is
actually, before giving the test only, you have to submit like I think five schools. You have to
okay,
select five
that's
schools.
in fact better because after getting my score, I was excited that I had hit a 330 score, and I
Hmm.
missed that setting the
Oh,
scores to the
you.
schools. Yeah, I just went to Stanford, so I missed selecting the other three schools. So
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
so don't do that.
Yeah. Okay, that's nice. Okay, let's go to the next question. Um, yeah, we just answered this. Like, does it matter where I get my LORs from, corporate versus professor? We just finished this. So the next question is, yeah, regarding the CV, like, yeah, we'll just discuss a little bit about the CV because most of the people have this professional kind of CV, right? It is actually different from the ones which you apply in B schools. So how did you, even you must have used this applicant lab, whatever
Yeah, there
pointers they
was
gave.
this applicant. Yeah, like apart from applicant lab, in addition to there's this website called Early Admit as well.
Hmm.
So they have this. They have prepared a repository of
Hmm.
all the CVs that have got selected into deferred MBAs. So
Okay.
I had got that repository there. So you get an idea because see, the resumes that we use in India for let's say whatever purpose, like
Hmm.
internships, placements, and all, the format is a bit different from the USB schools and all. So you can get a format from their websites as well, like Harvard and MIT have a resume template available, open like on the internet. You can get that.
Mm-hmm.
But how people are structuring things, like what all they are putting up in their internship sections, in their academic sections, I wanted to get an idea around it. So that could be helpful if you want, like early admits repository, you can find it online. And then I get an idea like how people are structuring their resume. I used those templates, got my resume fitted into some template around it. And one thing I would suggest is like the different elements of this application, like the resume, the essay, the LOR, should at the end talk to each other. What discuss well with your LOR, like recommenders, like what are they writing. Don't just tell them to write a LOR. It shouldn't be a
Mm-hmm.
generic LOR that yeah, he has done this with me and he
Mm-hmm.
was a good hardworking student or something like that. It should be a proper story. It should have anecdotes with it. What was the project, like there was this problem, this technicality, then how this guy or girl solved it. What was his some leadership qualities or some other aspects, interpersonal skills that he showed or he she showed. So that should come in from the LOR side. And let's
Mm-hmm.
say some skills the person is talking about, let's say taking initiative, being creative, or let's say technically sound, maybe in coding,
Mm-hmm.
or let's say designing. So that should come up in your resume as well. You should be highlighting those skills some way or the other in your resume as well, maybe through your internship, in your project work. And then let's say in your essay you're talking about like your post MBA or long term goal is to work in the fintech space or the health tech space. So your resume should also convey that you have done similar
Yeah,
internships or
similar to.
projects in a healthcare or fintech space. It's not that you have been working all your life, like all your college life in finance or something, and you're talking that I want to be some do something in healthcare or space technology.
Mm.
That should there shouldn't be such disconnect over there.
Yeah,
So everything should tie up well together. That's what my I was trying to say here.
yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah, regarding the CV part, I think most of us are used to the technical CV. So we have to keep all the technical stuff a little less because the people kinds of people who are reading the your resumes are not technically sound in your domain. So you have to make sure they understand what impact it had in terms of you can quantify it, and like everything is obviously there in whatever he suggested early admit, and it's also there in the applicant lab. You can go through it, but make sure you don't send the same technical CV what you send for placements and all that.
Yeah,
So next,
correct.
yeah, the this is question like are LOR submitted directly by the recommenders? Yeah, so LORs you will not be able to send it. Like you'll have to email it to them and they will send it. But make sure that you tell your LO like whoever is your recommender, you should give them a few stories as well. You should tell them to write stories and examples of your leadership. If they just write, as Shashwat told, a generic LOR, then it won't be of much use. Right, Shashwat?
Yeah, correct. Like one thing that people can do is basically, you can discuss your essay as well if you're comfortable with your recommender. Like I am not sure how much comfortability you would have with your recommender or not, but try to discuss your like briefly your application, like what all story you are presenting, like what sort of thing you're presenting to the school in terms of the essay. So that would, and then discuss your internship tenure, or if you're taking it from a professor, your tenure through the projects or courses. Because think from the recommender's perspective, they won't be knowing the entire that particular tenure of yours, like you have spent time with him or her
Mm-hmm.
entirely, right? What all did you did and how you did it. So first prepare a doc or something like what was your internship or your project and what all good things you did with the recommender,
Mm-hmm.
and then discuss with him or her like these were the things, make him recall or her recall things,
Yeah, yeah.
because that will help them build a good story and write a good LOR for you. And as everyone would have recommended, like that's the generic thing to recommend, that don't write your own LORs. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
don't do that.
Yeah,
So
you
that try
can't
to get it
write
written
also.
by your recommender only.
And like for my case, I think my recommender just asked me what are your strengths and weaknesses. So instead of just giving strengths and weaknesses, you just tell where you showed it in front of him. So like the
Correct.
strengths, yeah,
Yeah.
that will make more sense.
Yeah, as you said, no, ki don't tell me, show me. So that's the
Hmm.
entire thing. You'll have to show these stories where like the what do you say, the candidate has displayed those, they demonstrated those skills. You just can't say that he is so and so.
Hmm. Hmm, hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. So next is, what criteria should one consider to choose B schools to apply for? Okay, as I told, yeah, what did you choose? Like obviously the top B schools. Other than that,
Okay. Yeah, so I wanted to like right as you said like the top M7 only I wanted to apply. So I had applied that and researched about the schools, what are the differences and what all things. See, if you talk about Stanford and like there's one more school, UC Berkeley has.
hmm.
They also have a deferred MBA program.
Hmm.
So they are in the Silicon Valley. So their focus is more around entrepreneurship and
Hmm.
product management into tech companies. So you
Hmm.
have to understand these things as well, like where the school is located and what's the school's famous for.
Hmm.
Like Stanford and UC Berkeley are famous for entrepreneurship and product management, whereas Harvard is famous for general management and its roles into private equity and finance. Whereas Columbia, being in New York City, is more susceptible to investment banking and finance roles similarly,
Hmm.
like private equity, venture capital. Whereas Chicago, Booth, and Kellogg, they are in the Midwest.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
and Chicago is the finance capital as well, like is a finance city. So these things do impact like the location of the school and what are, and one thing you could do is like read the employment report as well. Like every year, all of these schools publish their employment report. Like all the students who are graduating in a year, where all do are they working after
Yeah, yeah.
graduation industry wise, and there are some further segregations in the companies in the domains, so we'll get an idea like okay, this is a school I'm looking at, and most of the candidates from these schools get into consulting. So you
Hmm.
will get an idea that this school is more oriented towards consulting, or this school is more oriented towards startups and all those things.
Hmm.
So this is how you will get an idea like, yeah. And if you like, you are clear that after MBA you want to get into entrepreneurship, so just apply it to those schools who are focused on entrepreneurship. Like if you want to, like if you want to just hedge your risk and apply to all the schools, that's another story. But
Hmm.
if you're very particular about selecting a school, then you'll have to do some research, like, or like from outside it all looks similar, like they
Hmm.
are all top 5, top 7, top 10 schools in the world. But when you dig deeper, you will understand like these schools do have some differentiations among themselves.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I actually chose around 8 schools because after that, like, you'll not have time to spend on each application, the
Yeah.
quality time you require. So I just chose the M7 and Haas. I chose like, and right, like he said, you just if you want to aim at only specific schools, then make sure you research about what kind of like post MBA roles do candidates get after getting an MBA from that school. So you have to do a lot of research and you have to talk to a lot of people. And yeah, that's about it. I think we have one final question. Yeah, this is again about the exam prep, and we have already talked about it. So yeah, have we missed anything in the whole process? We can just think about it. Like when we started, yeah, I think one of the major things to consider is that many people think that their profile is little uh, it's not strong enough to apply, right? And some people like feel like some people are very confident of their profile. So what I have seen is like whoever, like even I feel that their profile is very strong. I've seen them also being rejected. And likewise, like some people whom I felt like the profile was missing a few things, they also got selected. So I would suggest like just apply. Just don't think about whether your profile is strong as compared to your friends or something. And even in terms of competition, from our college, IIT Kharagpur, I just remember so many people applying in the final sem. So yeah, how did you deal with the competition and all that? Were you concerned about it, or you just?
I didn't talk
Yeah.
to people, so so I didn't want to talk about it because I was already following Reddit as I mentioned. So
Mhm.
there, I already knew that a lot of people are applying, and I got to hear a lot of perspective from people outside India as well. So I
Mhm.
knew that the competition is already there. So I didn't want to see that around me in the campus itself. So one thing is that you have to be confident in yourself. Like when I first saw the stats for HBS, like there are for MBA, like normal MBA, about 10,000 people apply and
Mhm.
about 10-12% get in. I was like, oh my god, just 10,000 people apply and the
Mhm.
selection ratio is about 10%. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, how come? Like HBA, Harvard, and these top like Ivy Leagues are supposed to have a very few less selection rate, very
Mhm.
like very selective about it. But then I like when I talked to the alums and the students over there, I got to know that most of the people self reject themselves. So the people that are applying to these schools, like 10K, 12K people, they themselves think that they are like eligible to get into Harvard. So they
Mhm.
have that good resumes. So
Mhm.
good profile, good resume. So they're top-notch people. Like so you have to be they are or not, that's a different story. They believe that they are. So that's very
Mhm.
important. So you have to believe in yourself first. Then only you could apply.
Yeah.
So don't underestimate yourself, I would say. And just one more thing, like I guess we didn't talk about the like post graduation thing, like after graduating where you're working is
Mhm.
also plays a good role in your
Yeah.
application, where you will be working after graduation, if it's a MBB, FANG, or a big bank, or a startup. So how you're portraying that thing, like what are your post graduation plans, like this comes out as a pre-MBA experience, like what are your pre-MBA goals, you know
Mhm.
so you would be beginning as like after graduation, I will be working at this and this company, and after 2 to 3 years, I may have this plan, and after this, I'm planning to get into the school. So you will have to some way describe that as well in a short answer during the application, or maybe in the essay as well. It depends on how you're portraying things, but that should also align with your overall story that you are bringing in, your overall CV that you are giving out. It's because this job won't be there in your CV, right? You would just telling it that I will be working here
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
graduation, but it should also somehow align that, yeah, why have you chosen this company? It's not that placements are random, I got
Ah.
into here and I will be working here. It shouldn't sound that way. There should be a reason, or a thought process of why you are choosing it.
Mhm. I agree to that. So, yeah, I think we have discussed most of the uh, questions and
Yeah.
we've gone through your journey also. So, yeah, I think we can come to an end to the podcast. So, if you have any more questions, just make sure you write it in the comments or just email it to me. We'll have another session with a few more Deferred MBA folks. So, for now, thanks a lot, Shashwat, for joining. And if you have any
Pleasure.
final words of advice for the Deferred MBA applicants, we'll hear it and then we'll close it.
So I would just say that believe in yourself if you are looking forward to an MBA down the line. So just believe in yourself, in your journey, whatever you've done through your college life, and just apply for it. It's not too late. And like if you're in the test prep journey, or if you are just thinking about it right now, just go for it, I would say.
Okay. With that, we come to an end. Thanks a lot, Shashwat, and thanks a lot to the viewers for watching. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.